Hi, I'm Jackie Dorman, and I'm going to be on the Coriolis effect, and we're going to talk about my book, Married in 12 Months or Less.
Welcome to the Coriolis effect with Cory Oliver.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver. Thanks for watching the Coriolis effect. Please hit the subscribe button below, and we hope you like this episode.
Hi guys, we wanted to announce that like many podcasters, we just started a Patreon account. Visit our page at patreon.com/the Coriolis effect. We have 5 different levels of membership and offer early access to episodes, behind the scenes footage, bonus episodes, shout outs, and much more, including personal phone calls, questions and answer sessions, and live chats with Bob and me. That's patreon.com/the Coriolis effect. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Cory. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Is that true or is that not?
No, that's a total lie.
I know, like you have the pain on your face is making me so sad. Like I want to help you, but I know I can't.
I have a massive headache. I had a sore throat the last day or so, but the sore throat's gone.
Oh.
But my headache is
You had a sore throat?
Yeah, for like a day. What's that look for?
Because I had that.
Well, you probably gave it to me.
No, I haven't seen you. I was
No, but
totally
we talked over the phone,
it.
so you probably gave it to me over the phone. Actually, in the old days, they said 70 or 80% of colds were transmitted through the phone.
Stop. I'm not falling for this.
Okay,
It's like literally I'm not. That's actually, if you,
I'm not
that
saying it,
is something
okay,
you think I think.
I'm not saying it was transmitted through the phone wires. It was in an office. I would pick up the phone, talk on it, put the handset down. Somebody else would come pick up the same handset and talk to you.
Fair
so
enough.
The phone was responsible until everybody got their own phones. But remember, there used to be communal phones in the house and in the office.
Well, and this is true. And let me to your point. I just sanitized my phone because people think, oh, you can sanitize your hands, but your phone is like money, right? They say money is like the
Makes
has
it rub around?
it has the worst, most like fecal matter and all this stuff on it. But your phone, you'll go out to the grocery store and then you'll take your phone, but you won't sanitize your phone. So sanitize your phone.
Do you have one of those old things you put it in?
No, I have sanitized wipes.
Oh, I have this little box that opens up, you put it in, and it ultraviolets it for like 10 minutes and kills everything in it.
Is that true?
That is. Do I have it? Yes, I'll show you.
Oh.
But yeah, they have these phone sterilizers.
Oh,
They
I
have
didn't
them
know
for
that.
they're sonic sterilizer. I don't know if it's sonic. The toothbrush ones are sonic. I got one for my father.
I've seen that one.
And he said, "Why would you buy me that?" Or my mom said, "Why would you buy him that?" I said, "Well, he's a germ freak." He goes, "He never uses a toothbrush for more than a week. He uses it and throws it out and right."
You can get them at the 99-cent store, like 4-pack. I usually use them a couple times. That tells them.
By the way, that dollar store has now gone up to $1.25.
$1.25.
Yeah.
Yeah, inflation.
Changed the name of the store.
They're having a hard time getting the stuff off the boats.
They also said, and I read this a while ago, I don't know if it's still true, that $20 bills, 1 out of 5, has a trace amount of cocaine on it. Because of all the drug deals and other people touching it and stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Not
terrible.
trace amounts. It's not like you're going to get high by touching it.
Well, no, but still that just means there's all kinds of other stuff on that.
Right.
So
who's on today?
Okay, well, first I want to just say this. Yes, you might want to start the clock. Thank you. You found this guest.
You're welcome, enough said.
You found this guest, and I read this book. I picked it up yesterday at whatever time, and I read it. I couldn't put it down last night. I literally woke up, I couldn't believe the contents in this book and how it is so informative. It is encouraging, and it has steps to help you heal. And so it is called Married in 12 Months or Less by Jackie Dorman. She's written several books. She has written another one called The Heart Work. But she really is hilarious.
Is it about her getting married in 12 months, or is it how to get married in 12 months?
It's about so many different things. But yes, in fact, it does talk about her story. I don't want to give it all away because it's so worth the read. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what's in it. But it's about her story and how she did meet someone and get married in 8 months. And I don't know that it's necessarily like, oh, you have to get married in 12 months or that's your goal is to get married in 12 months. That's certainly not mine. But it's basically saying that you can find love again and you might have to do a little bit of work. And she gives you the tools. And there's just so much in this book. It's literally one of my new favorite books. And I'm going to get it for everybody for Valentine's Day. And it's very good even if you are married. There are a lot of good golden nuggets in this book. So it's not just about being married. It really isn't. She says there's a comment in there that nobody puts baby in the corner. And we were talking about this before we started. You can put yourself in the corner. You can go through all of this like mental anguish really, and it's unnecessary. It's all that time wasted where you can put forth going forward and finding who God has for you. And so
Now, my only problem with that is, and you said a phrase that tickled my fancy or ticked me off. My first wife used to say, marriage is a lot of work. And I said, no. Getting someone to marry you should be a lot of work. But once you get married, the marriage shouldn't be a lot of work. I don't want to work the rest of my life at a marriage. It should be easy. And as you can say, that first marriage didn't last because it was too much work. My marriage now, we have fun fights and we argue back and forth, but it's not work.
Well,
and I can't stand when people say, well, marriage is a lot of work. No, it's not. It shouldn't be. If your marriage is work, you're married to the wrong person.
Well, I was going to say, I watched you and Irina for a long time, and, you guys have a great sense of humor. And so
Well, we're
humor,
both sarcastic.
yeah, but humor is so important for any relationship, but especially if you have a sense of humor, and if the other person doesn't, there's a problem.
Yeah, well, that's
but so that can cover a multitude of sins, but this was just such a great book,
way,
Bob. I can't thank you enough.
You're welcome. My
Thank
first
you.
wife used to laugh all the time. She had a laugh that you could hear 100 miles away. And we were together for a year. We got married, and my father looked at me and in front of her or something says, when she stops laughing, watch out. Yeah. And then we were getting ready to go through the word. She looks at it and goes, you know what? I've stopped laughing. Watch
said
out.
that?
Yeah. She's, remember when your father said, when I stopped laughing? I've stopped laughing.
I've stopped.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, that's a problem. Well, I would encourage anyone to get this book and read it because you will laugh. I started laughing right in the beginning. We're going to talk a little bit more about it when she comes on. So I'm very excited to meet her. I want to read this really quickly because it is important. It's just a little snippet and it sets the book up. I can find it. Let's see. Sorry. Keep talking.
At the end, the summary at the end, or the forward?
No, it's just it says secret to your love story. Are you ready to reclaim your love life, heal your heart, and unlock the secret to finding your spirit mate? Then sign up for Jackie Dorman's Married in 12 Months Less Challenge today at lovestories.com. So she has a whole program that you can go on, lovestories.com. And she is just a gift. I really truly believe that. And it takes a lot to write a book, and she's written a couple, and she's doing it from her heart and from experiences, and she has great stories in here of people that have gone through similar things over and over again. We kind of tend to maybe go around the mountain once or twice, right? But she gives you steps to go up it. So I'm very excited, as you can see.
Well, we'll see you in a minute or two, and she'll be on Zoom.
Okay. This episode is sponsored by the Simply Earth Essential Oil Recipe Box. Do you have essential oils sitting unused on your shelf? Have essential oils always confused you? The Simply Earth Essential Oil Recipe Box will help you gain confidence and clarity in using essential oils to help make your home essentially toxin-free. You will receive a recipe box with 4 pure essential oils, 6 recipe cards, and extras. You will learn how to use your essential oils while making the recipes created by certified aromatherapists. You will also save money and detoxify your life. Buy from a company that changes the world, since Simply Earth gives 13% of all profits to end human trafficking around the world. Simply Earth's essential oils are affordable, 100% pure, and come from the best farms all over the world. They are GC-MS tested by a third party to ensure purity. And all of Simply Earth Essential Oils recipes are tried and tested by an in-house certified aromatherapists. Using essential oils to support your wellness doesn't have to be overwhelming. Have fun making your home essentially toxin-free with Simply Earth Essential Oil Recipe Box. Plus, get a free 80 milligram essential oil diffuser when you subscribe at simplyearth.com/Cory. That's simplyearth.com/Cory. Subscribe to Simply Earth today and make your home essentially toxin-free.
This episode is sponsored by Brizo Healthy Fruit Tonic. With Manuka honey and apple cider vinegar, less than 4 grams of sugar, and under 35 calories per can, each of Brizo's 4 flavors not only taste great, they are an excellent source of vitamin C. Brizo boosts your immune system and is great for your post-workout recovery. Brizo, available on Amazon and at brizo.com.
Go into this book, and by the way, you had me at...
Hey, let's start the show.
Yes, let's start the show. Okay, well, I'll just go into all of this again because I welcome to the Coriolis Effect. I have amazing author, Jackie Dorman. She wrote a book called Married in 12 Months or Less. Yes, like this book has changed my life. Literally.
I read it yesterday.
I read it yesterday, but it's so cathartic in so many different ways. And just, first of all, again, you had me at, yep, I tore his head clean off, and we'll go into that story. You are
that's a
so
good one.
funny. You are so funny. And the whole book is an incredible read. It's captivating and informative and encouraging and gives you so many golden nuggets to heal yourself, which is so important even to think about entering into a marriage. So before we get into all of this, because look, I read it, I have all my sticky notes. And
Oh, wow.
I know. We have a word of the day. So we're going to give you a word of the day. It's a fear word, which...
All right, Jackie, I'm going to actually, Siri or Alexa is going to say a word. I'll spell it for you and say it again. You have to guess what the definition of this word is.
Oh, okay, great. A game.
A game.
Fun.
Why is this not working? Cory, what'd you break?
Gamophobia.
That's too low. All right.
Gamophobia.
Gamophobia. Gamophobia. Gamophobia. That is the fear of...
I have no idea. Gamophobia. I've never heard this word before. Didn't they used to call women's legs gams like back in the World War days? Is
Yeah.
it like fear? Is it fear of legs?
Fear of marriage.
Yes. Sorry.
I got it right.
Fear of marriage. It's the fear of marriage.
Wow. I should know that, shouldn't I?
Yes, you should.
I don't though.
But Cory cheats because Cory knows it always relates directly to a guest.
I might have had a little bit of that gamophobia myself, but having been married twice and them not work out, you are...
For a
You
total
don't
of
even
34
know.
days.
You don't even know how amazing you are. And so I really want to just dive into this book, Married in 12 Months or Less. And I was telling Bob, maybe that's not your goal to be married in 12 months. Maybe you are married. This book has so many wonderful things in it that can help you in either sense and in either way. It just really was a very healing book for me. So I honestly can't thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And by the way, my job is just to sit here and make fun of Cory.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this duo. I love this energy. And the thing is about the title of the book, it's really not about a time frame. I think it's about giving people hope that when you really take a look at what's not working, you take a look at your own heart, that the things that you want, not just the marriage, but the things that you want in life, they don't have to take a long time, because people have been sitting in the waiting room already for such a long time. And they need hope that, hey, you know what? If I get in alignment, this doesn't have to take a long time.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
No.
And I love your story and you open up with the story. And I want to just talk a little bit about a few of the things in this book. But you jump right in with you met your husband. He lived next door. And it
Yes.
says here, yep, I tore his head clean off. And I was cracking up because for a good reason. So explain a little bit of that, because you weren't looking for it. It just kind of happened.
It did. It happened. And it was like the most imperfect timing. I think people want to believe in the perfect timing. And I really want to let people out there know that you're probably not going to feel ready for your love story. And if you're waiting to get ready and have all your ducks in a row, your story doesn't have ducks and it doesn't have rows. It just has a heart that's willing to realize that we all have yellow flags and we're all in process and we're all under construction. And so before the ink was even dry on my dissolution papers, the last thing that I was looking for was a romance. I walked out into my front yard and I met the man who is now my husband. But I just didn't just meet him. I actually yelled at him. I yelled at the man that I've now been married to for 15 years.
What was he doing wrong?
For good reason.
Well, I thought he was a sex offender.
Yeah.
And the reason
You
why
and I are
is
soul sisters, by the way. We are. I went through that whole thing with you in the book, and I was like, I would have thought the exact same thing.
totally right.
Especially when you have a young daughter, right? I have a young daughter. I was a single mom, so I totally get it.
Yeah. And we have a small neighborhood. I get the email from the people that, put out the APB on the sex offenders and just say, hey, there's one moving in your neighborhood. Well, guess who was the only person I could see moving in? Him. And so my daughter was trying to make friends with his little daughter. And I was just like, oh, no way. Not on my watch. And so I marched right over to him and I let him know, hey, I know who you are. this is who I am. And my daughter's not allowed to play at your house. She's not allowed near you or your daughter. And thank goodness a sane person was watching this. This other neighbor just happened to see this exchange. I really believe that was a divine intervention because she was standing outside, and afterwards she was like, what's wrong with you? Like, what's really wrong with you? Because that's how
Nothing.
Crazy
You're a mama
lady.
bear.
I was crazy, though. It was crazy town. But thank goodness my big head got another chance. Seriously, my big head, because that didn't stop there. When I went to apologize, and I don't put this in the book, I knocked on the front door and he wasn't home. And, my neighbor had already clued me in on who he was. He's this teacher and he's an American hero and he's so amazing. You should be ashamed of yourself. And so when I marched over there and knocked on the door, there were windows you could see into our little foyers in our townhouses. And his was immaculate. It was so beautifully decorated. I was like, oh, he's gay. Now I understand. So, I mean, this was a comedy of errors. It was like the Gong Show
Totally.
For a while.
So wait a
my
minute,
gosh.
you went to him and said, stay away from my daughter, you're a sex offender. He said, I'm not a sex offender. And he said, oh, well then, would you like to go out?
No, I didn't actually accuse him of being a sex offender. I just said, hey, my daughter's not allowed to play with your daughter. I didn't give him a reason.
Okay.
But I love your neighbor because she said to you all these things, and then she said, you and I are seriously, I'm not kidding, we're soul sisters. Then she said, and I think he's a Christian, wink, wink. And you were like, oh, you had me at Christian, right? That's how I'd have been. Oh, okay, I'm in. He says he's a Christian, I'm in.
Yeah, well, the problem is then she questioned me about, she's like, aren't you supposed to be a Christian? Because you're acting crazy right now. And I was like, well, I'm from the south side of the kingdom. So that's what has to happen here. We gotta vet you out before we can be friends with you. So,
and to your point, that being a single mom, I was a single mom, and you have a level of, another level where you're just in survival mode. And you're protecting your child and you're protecting your environment and you're protecting everything. So I totally get that. But
100%.
Within 8 months, you guys got married.
We did. I apologized to him and we became friends and we became kind of co-parents next door. Our kids went to the same summer program. We did carpooling. And in a very short amount of time, about 4 months into that friendship, that next door neighbor situation, I was out walking and he joined me because I used to walk to burn off some of that crazy anxiety that I was having. And he came out and he was just like, when I start to look for, to get remarried, I don't think I'm going to have to look very far. He said that to my face. And I was like, this guy likes me. Like he likes me. And then like my inner teenager was like, oh, this is fun. This is great. This guy really likes me. And then of course my broken heart was like, run. This is crazy. The last thing you want to do is get remarried. And so I had this crazy tug of war going on inside of me. And I tried to chase them away. I promise you. And that's where a lot of my teaching and coaching comes in, because all of my students, all my matchmaking clients, when they meet the one, almost all of them try to chase them off, with their behavior.
Isn't that interesting? It's so interesting. And you have, and we're going to go through it because we have time. I could make this show like 3 hours on my story alone. But you have checklists to go through for, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but for ourselves to figure out how to not do those things, because I'm guilty of it too. We really can be the author of our own misery in this kind of a situation when it comes to love. But I love what you say here. You said, now 14 years later, we realize just how perfectly matched we really are. And by perfectly, I mean nobody else could ever put up with either one of us. Just so funny. I'm not kidding. The whole book is like riddled with humor, and I love it. Because if you can't laugh at the end of the day, then, it's just not worth it. And so do you guys have a similar sense of humor?
Well, he thinks he's funny. He tells dad jokes, but, I think
Bob.
that he's full of dad jokes, and it's important for a lot of men that, that their woman finds them funny. And so I think I'm the funnier of the two of us. He would tell you differently, but I think that a lot of people think that the person that they're going to fall in love with is not going to annoy the heck out of them. I mean, people are annoying. Everyone's going to annoy you. And so that's what I was saying by that. We're so eccentric and we just annoy each other, but in just such a good way. And no one else could really put up with how eccentric and how annoying both of us are. We're perfectly annoyingly matched.
Okay.
So
First of all, dad jokes, by definition, are funny. All of them.
They are. They're pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, I love what you say here in under this against all odds, and I really felt this last night, and that's why I was thanking Bob profusely for that. This book ended up in my lap because you say there are millions of books, somewhere upward of 690 million sold every year, but you just happened to find this book, and I felt that last night after having read it. I thought this ended up in my lap, and for a reason. It's such a great book to help you look inward. And, I've been married twice. I didn't want either one to fail. And, it's helped me kind of understand the reasons why I wouldn't even say I picked the last two, but they picked me or whatever. What went wrong and how not to go back down that same path, or as I say, around the same mountain again.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's the whole goal.
You'd be amazed at how many men and women, because of course I coach and I mentor women, I matchmake, but I also have a lot of male clients as well. How many men and women just did not want to wave the white flag on the divorce? That was like the worst possible outcome. They just were going to stick in it until it killed them. And it almost did in a lot of those cases. Divorces are not divorces. They're rescue missions in a lot of cases where you're bailing water out of the boat while the other person's drilling holes in the bottom, and you're sinking fast, and you're both going to drown. You're both going to drown if you stay there.
Yes. And that's one of the things is that I knew my earpiece has low battery.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I resonated with that statement because it may not kill you, physically. It could kill you emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. And that's
totally
that. And that happens. And those are all serious deaths. I mean, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's worse things sometimes than just dying physically. Emotional, verbal, spiritual abuse. I know a lot of people are just really up in arms because they think so many Christian people specifically are getting divorced. And they think that, Christianity has a divorce problem. No, it has an abuse problem. And it's a dirty little secret behind closed doors where there's all kinds of verbal and mental and spiritual abuse. And that's where a lot of these divorces, that's where they originate from, is that people have broken hearts and then, they're getting married and they have no good information. And it's a match made in hell. It really is. And so we don't want to keep people in those situations just because, I think people think that God loves his rules more than he loves his kids. And it's just not true.
No, I agree with that. And it says here, you say here, God doesn't write sad love stories, but until we learn how to fully surrender the pen, we definitely do. And that's so true. And it also, going on to the next page, it talks about, how generational curses can leave you in a similar situation that your mom went through or your grandmother went through, your aunt went through, which happens to me in my case. There's like a long lineage of divorces. And, what do you say about those negative patterns in families? And yes, I think God gives us the tools and the scriptures to combat it. But how do you approach someone that may come to you and say, hey, this has been happening for generations. What do I do?
Well, I just tell them, first of all, the very first thing that I always say is that whatever runs in your family can run out with you. It doesn't have to continue. And even if you've already gotten divorced, if that's already happened, because a lot of times, we choose with all that bad information. I mean, there were more red flags flapping in my face when I got married when I was 20 years old than NASCAR. I mean, there were so many red flags, but I hadn't been taught to see them. I had one of the guys from The Bachelor just asked me just recently, he said, why don't we teach this stuff to kids in school along with English and math? And we absolutely should. Yes. Because when there's inherited trauma, like what you're talking about, the only way you're ever going to stop it is first to recognize it and know what it is.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I do that. And I have a daughter and she's 22 and I don't want her going down that same path. And I pray and we've had conversations and, it's so important. Like, I love what you just said. Whatever it can walk out with you. That's so true. You can get rid of it. You can be done with it. And, I felt like I've failed twice in my depiction of it for her. But, I can't wait to talk to you after all of this because sign me up to whatever course,
Absolutely.
5-day challenge, all of that stuff. Like I'm your new pupil For sure.
I'm so excited about that. And, and failure is, people think it's the opposite of success. It's obviously a part of success. And of course, we don't want to fail in these most important relationships because we think that divorce is like the unpardonable mistake. It's like, oh, you don't want to make that mistake. But the truth is that even divorce does not rob you of the potential of this beautiful love story that I believe is already kind of in you. It's hardwired. It just robs you of confidence. It robs you of confidence to step back out there, but it doesn't rob you of potential. And so your daughter and anyone else watching will see that when you go ahead and step back out there and you put your trust in the process that, hey, you know what? Just because I failed before doesn't mean that there's still not a story for me. That I think speaks more volumes to people than the people that, oh, I met in high school and it was perfect and we got married and we're married 60 years later. Wonderful. Yeah. I'm really happy for those people, but that's not the majority of people's stories.
Yeah. You can turn that confidence into Godfidence, I call it, right?
I love that.
Yeah. You have, I'm not going to read it because I want people to get this book and have it in front of them and read it, but you have a prayer here. And I read it last night and I was sobbing. I was like, this is the prayer I should be saying. And I am a prayer warrior. Bob knows I've been a moms and prayer leader for 16 years. I'm an area coordinator in prayer, and I have never prayed a prayer like this. Really. You really made me think and look inward, and it's such a beautiful prayer. And so it's literally going to be my nighttime prayer, and I can't thank you enough. I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe, we have the ability in our lives to bless ourselves or curse ourselves with our spoken word. And this book is so encouraging. You're so uplifting.
I'm so glad. And that prayer is just, that's what we call the supernatural surrender. It's sort of the permission slip is what I'm assuming you're talking about. Yeah. And, a lot of people don't give God permission to intervene in this area of their lives because they don't think he cares about this area. It's like, this is something I have to do on my own. Now that he cares about all this other stuff, but he's not emotionally involved with my love life. And they don't realize that the very reason that we all exist is for relationship. That's why we're here. And it's the most important thing to God's heart, a relationship with him, with ourselves, and with others. And of course, marriage is, it was created by him, and he cares about that area of our lives.
I agree with you. I think he already knows, right? He knows. You say here, nobody puts baby in a corner. And you said, you say, I know we all love that movie quote, nobody puts baby in a corner, but sometimes baby puts baby in the corner all day long and twice on Sundays. Guilty right here.
Totally. And the reason why it's twice on Sundays is because baby puts herself in the corner to punish herself because of religious ideas and mindsets of, I've messed up. There's no second chances for me. One of my favorite stories is I have a bride that has been married 4 times, not once, not twice, not 3, 4 times. And for them, 4th was there's absolutely no do-over now. They might have had a do-over at 3, maybe 2, but they could not fathom a do-over at 4. And they are actually in love. They are headed to the altar right now. It's so amazing to watch them not just forgive the people that hurt them, but forgive themselves for picking those people and actually give themselves the opportunity, because she had to give it to herself to fall in love again and to believe that she's allowed to have another love story.
I think that's so well said. Like I've said that, I've thought that to myself, right? As we get older and we go through a couple or even one did me in. I was married to my daughter's father and we got divorced. And then, I waited 16 years till she was going off to college to get married again. And I literally got married and 26 days later, he left. Never gave me an excuse. I never got any kind of closure, but all that,
he texted you.
All that to say this.
Oh gosh.
When I tried to get closure, when I tried to chase him down at the courthouse or whatever, I went to therapy. I was, crushed. My heart was hurt. And I'm only saying this because I'm completely healed from that now. I feel like God, God's rejection is God's protection. But somebody said, let the disrespect be your closure. And that one sentence was enough for me to say, okay, don't look back. God told Lot's wife not to look back. She'll become a pillar of salt, right? There's nothing back there for you, but there's a lot in the present and in front of you. And so I'm excited. you have a checklist in this book, and I want to tell you my checklist.
Oh, you want to tell me your checklist?
It's very simple because there's only a few. It goes through like I'm disqualified and has all these reasons. And my first four were I was in my own head of being disqualified for even moving forward in a divorce or in a marriage, right? A new marriage. I'm divorced. I'm a single mom, too old, and missed the boat. Those are the first four I checked.
Wow. Yes.
All lies, right?
Yes. Yeah, they are. Yeah, absolutely. The single mom lie. There's so many beautiful blended families. There are, and there's so many men out there that have no problem marrying a woman who, has babies to raise and being part of that process. And so women need to know that. They need to know that. And the disqualified, the I'm too old is just so funny. I have brides that are getting married in their 70s and 80s right now. Just incredible love stories.
Really?
And so, yes, we do. In fact, we have so many women getting married after 55 and they've been waiting for decades because they thought that they were too old at 35 or 40 years old. And so they just been like, I guess I'm going to be just over here by myself. But thank God for the pandemic. I say that because every storm cloud has a silver lining. And if that one had a silver lining, it was that people realized they did not want to spend the rest of their lives alone.
Alone. Yes. Good point.
It really,
Yes.
that's what happened. It gave birth to a marriage boom. Just like every world crisis gives birth to some kind of boom, a baby boom, an economic boom, the pandemic gave birth to a marriage boom. And we are seeing it at Married in 12 Months or Less. And it's incredible.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of people realize, okay, well, I'm isolated now. I'm stuck at home. I can't go out to even the store where you have human interaction, right? So
right.
The isolation becomes louder, I would imagine.
Yes.
The
distractions are lessened. The distractions are lessened and you're listening to your heart and your heart's like, I don't want to be here. Mm-hmm. I actually do want someone to Netflix and chill with. I do want someone in my life. I've been saying all this time that, I don't want anybody. It's too much trouble. I'm set in my ways. I'm independent. I don't need a man. And now they're just like, wait a minute. After 18 months of that, I actually want someone living in my house. I want someone to be married to and to spend time with. And it's been fun to watch people cross off their list. You're talking about your list of disqualifications. Well, a lot of women have another list, and it's their list of qualifications of what the man has to have. And I noticed that as women get older, that list gets longer and longer. What's on your list of that?
What's on my list? Oh, yeah, I'll tell you my first. Okay. I'll tell you the first two things that you must have. It's without a doubt, character and integrity.
Love it. Those are
my first top two. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to go ahead and say this because I've said it a million times. I love the Duck Dynasty look. It's just, that's just a little bit of a superficial thing. But I would love for them to know God. I would love for them to be kind and generous with others, just with their heart. Not, I mean, you don't have to set the world on fire with helping other people, but if we see someone in need, that we can help them together, right?
Absolutely. Those are spirit mate qualities, what you're saying right now. Now, normally the ladies that come to me, they have lists of, he's got to be over 6 foot tall. He's got to make over 6 figures. He's got to do this. He's got to do that. Those are their deal breakers. And I always encourage them, hey, let's let your deal breakers and your non-negotiables, come from heaven. Let them be heavenly things like what you're talking about right here.
I wouldn't mind if they like to do karaoke either, because I love karaoke.
Hilarious.
Or if they like to watch you do karaoke.
Yeah.
Karaoke on the list. Okay, so you can have some of those as well. Those are those soul connection things where you have the same sense of humor. You like the same things. You like to travel, that kind of stuff. But those spirit mate connections are the other things you were saying of, hey, we're going to change the world together. We're going to impact people's lives. We're going to do something together that we could have never done separately, because now that we're together, all of these dreams are able to be realized because of this partnership. And that's really what we specialize in at Married in 12 Months or Less, are those spirit mate connections.
Yes. I mean, there's so many more things, but they're just in the same line as what I told you. One of the stories that took me down in a good way in this, which, hope deferred makes the heart sick, right? And so if you can read a book and find some hope in it, and really truly it resonates with you, you've done your job. So well done, Jackie Dorman, for writing this book. Honestly, I can't say enough about it. I'm skipping through a lot of it because I want people to get it and read it. And it's like I have this closed Bible in my closet. It's like if every time you're like wondering what to wear somewhere, I kind of just sift through it. But this is I have a Bible. It's right by my bed, but then this is going right next to it. It's a reminder of just what you can have if you really do the work. Kate. I don't even know if I can get through her story without. It's such a reminder, and she resonated with me because, I don't want to go into too much of it. I'd rather someone just read it and get what I got, the same thing. But she struggles in here, and
absolutely,
for very good reasons, and is, she's married twice, enters into a second marriage, and finds herself in a similar struggle again of having to let go. And boy, that.
Yeah, and it's in the thing that, of course, the names are changed, but that's a real story, and that's a real person. And that is so many people's stories in different ways, shapes, and forms. But you're right. I mean, it is a tearjerker. I actually asked for permission to include that story in the book because it is, it's just such deep sorrow connected to it. But this is what happens when people don't do their heart work and they try again. Rebounding without healing it's trying again with no new information. You don't have any new information, and so you're going to get the same thing again. And so, that story, I hope that story really impacts people the way it's impacting you, because her story really impacted me. Yeah,
it is. And it's so relatable, on so many levels, in so many ways. And I don't want to give it away, but the outcome is worth reading. And it really, really is worth reading. It's just,
isn't it? Don't you love a happy ending?
Yes, I do love a happy ending. I'm literally like enchanted, Amy Adams. Like I wake up, I open up the windows, and I'm like, the hills are alive, and I love a love story. I love love. I mean, God created us to love one another, right? And so,
yes. And you know what? And people need to know that it's not going to be a perfect ending, but it's a happy ending. I always tell all of my clients, you don't need easy, you just need worth it. That is what I say all the time. That's our mantra, where we are. And people need to also know that there's so much healing in these love stories, because a lot of people think, well, when I get myself together, when I get all the work done and I do everything that I need to do, then and only then am I going to have this divine love story, not realizing that the divine love story is part of that healing. So it's married in 12 months or less. We say that. We say if you're hurt in marriage, then you'll be healed in marriage to a certain extent. If you're hurt in relationship, healed in relationship, hurt in friendship, healed in friendship, those new relationships are part of that healing process for you.
Well, you're right. And if you get the chance, some of my married friends have said, oh, you have no idea how lucky you are. You're single. And I'm like, no, you have no idea how lucky you are to be able to work through issues and still be loved and still be cherished and still be in a committed relationship, right? Like that's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I will, however, say that I was laughing out loud last night when you were talking about, you said, I wrote it here. Did I really shave my legs for this?
I've had so many moments like that in my life. I really say that to myself. I've had so many moments in my life where I'm just like, what the heck? I'm so underwhelmed by the outcome of this, right?
Yes. I think it's, we can all attest to that. Dating is not really ever fun. That's why I love your story, because you kind of didn't have to go far and God moved him right in next door. That's so amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. But I'm helping women, especially women that maybe they got married to the first boy that said they were pretty because they thought they were supposed to marry the first person they kissed or whatever, or the first person that asked them on a date, or, dating's not for mating. I just want to tell you something. Christian people are weird when it comes to this area. And because I wasn't raised as a Christian, I did not have my spiritual awakening until my 20s. I'm not weird like a lot of the people that become my clients, and they tell me things that they think they're supposed to do in this love department area. And I'm like, where the heck did you get that from? You know, you're not, well, I can't go to coffee with him because I don't think he's my husband. What are you talking about, girl?
Yeah.
You know, dating is fun. It's a self-discovery process. It's how you get to know other people. It's how you get to know yourself. And so we got to get all this I kiss dating goodbye stuff out of our system and realize that this is the way that we can really find out what we like in men and get to know men.
That's true.
You know,
and to that point under here, it says revealing for a healing. And you say, I like to call this process a revealing for the healing. But if you have a do not disturb sign or a keep out sign on specific memories or areas of your life, God will not trespass.
No,
I love that.
That's what that beautiful supernatural surrender is at the beginning of the book. People are like, oh, I'm so sad. I wish something good would happen to me. And yet you're keeping all of the gates closed. You're the one that's just like, I'm going to drive the car. I'm going to drive it off a cliff, but I'm going to drive it. So, we have to give, we have to give God permission to lead us to the places that, we're asking to go.
It's true. And I think you're right. I mean, he's up there saying, okay, well, speak it as though it is so. And we're like, I'm not, I won't, I can't. He's like, okay, that's fine. You go on to say, I know I'm just hitting all my notes here because you're so funny and I love your sense of humor. Like, I want to just hang out with you. You say you might be thinking, well, I had my chance, but that ship has sailed. How many people have said that, right? Newsflash, sister, your ship can't sail without you because you're the captain.
Totally. You're totally the captain. And, and this is where we have to give that permission again, because a lot of us are the captains and we're, running our ships aground and we're all upset in these areas and we keep trying. There's a difference between striving and stretching. We're out there trying really hard, but we're not able to get any success instead of allowing God to stretch us. Because I want to tell everyone that listens, all your listeners, that if you pray that dangerous supernatural prayer that Cory was talking about, then you need to be ready for what happens after that, because some of y'all are going to be relocating. Some of you are going to change jobs that you've had for years that never paid the bills anyway. Some of you are going to marry people a lot younger, a lot older, a different race, a different culture. If you're willing to give permission for God to get the pen and write the story's going to be a lot different than you think it is.
I just love that. If you're willing to give permission for God to take the pen and write the story, I always, and I've been quoted as saying this before, is if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Right?
Yeah.
Because he
so
has
small.
a plan and they're so small. He's up there going, wait a minute, hang on. That's all you want? No.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that. It's most people, their plans is not what's good for them. And God says, you don't want that. Well, you may want that, but that's not what's good for you. I'm going to give you what's good for you.
It's so true. And we cover that in the book, talking about how trauma doesn't just hurt us, it creates different versions of us. And these counterfeit versions of us that are created by trauma, they're asking God for all kinds of stuff that, he knows if you knew who you really were, and if you knew who that other person really was, or even who he really was, you would never ask for that. And so guess what? He ain't going to give it to you. That's
You're
why.
right. You're so right. And I've said, when I stopped acting and then I took 13 years off and raised my daughter, and then I went back into acting, I would say, God is my agent, because I didn't have an agent and I booked all these projects. And I would say, God is my agent. And you said, and I wrote this down, God is my matchmaker.
He is.
So like he's definitely using you here on earth to be the conduit, the vessel, right? To connect people. And can
I tell you, that's the most fun I've ever had in my life. Like in my private life, before Married in 12 Months or Less, before the books, I helped 15 of my friends get married. I mean, like I've always been the wing woman, always. And so being able to do this in the way that I do it is so fun. And, you made the mistake of telling me that you want to join up and that you're ready to be matched. So watch out. I'm already looking. I'm looking through my Rolodex already. Well,
how much do I love you? Okay. One of the things I love about you, I where do you live? Well, you don't have to say.
But I live in Austin.
Austin. Okay, perfect. Okay. So I listened to your interview last night because it was all about Jackie Dorman last night. I was up till like 1, 2 in the morning. I was like, I love her. She's my soul sister. Like, you just don't even know. But I was listening to, it was the CIA podcast that you had done with Adams, I think his name is. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure of his last name, but I was listening to your interview and I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, no. You go to some of the weddings of the people that you matchmake, and he was like telling you, I don't know, that could be a lot because you bring a lot of people together, but you were so enthusiastic and so excited, and it was genuine. And I thought, how many people you're blessing through, your work.
We literally, we're already almost in the triple digits of engagements and weddings. And so of course I can't go to all of them. We've helped hundreds of people find love, and that's just in the last 14 months. So super exciting. But I'm about to officiate my first student wedding. And I actually introduced these two personally. I made this match, obviously with divine help. And I actually have agreed to officiate their wedding. I've never done that before, and I'm super nervous and excited. I'm excited about it.
I think that's exciting. I actually did I only married one person. I got ordained online.
So did I.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I married my aunt.
It's so fun. It's such a beautiful thing
I
to
didn't
do.
marry my aunt. I performed
I
the wedding
understand.
ceremony for my aunt.
You might want to
rephrase
that. Yeah. Oh yeah, I married my aunt. Yeah, for sure.
Tell me about the Cheesecake Factory.
Yes. Okay. So this is more for my male clients than my female clients. But it's almost like the dating scene has become the Cheesecake Factory menu. And no offense to Cheesecake Factory, but if you've ever been there, their menu is huge. Huge. Okay. It's like the Magna Carta or something. Like, what's going on here? No restaurant can do Mexican and American and Italian and all of these things well. Okay. And so you're looking at it and you know darn well that you want the avocado egg rolls. It's what you always get. But you're paralyzed by all of the choices that you think you can have, right? And this happens to a lot of guys. A lot of men, because, there's online dating and there's all these movies and TV shows and all these things with beautiful women everywhere. Their little minds start thinking, hey, you know what? I can have any of these women that I want. It's like the Cheesecake Factory menu. When you know that red meat gives you reflux and you shouldn't have it and it's not best for you. And so I really help kind of redirect them to, hey, like you just said, what do you really want? What do you really want after all the other stuff has worn off? What really is going to settle with you well and be the match for you, and kind of redirecting them back to that.
And that's fair enough. I think we can all get, I'm just being transparent. I'm not good with like 17 choices. Just give me 1 or 2, and then it is overwhelming. I'm that person that goes to a restaurant like that, or I used to go to Jerry's Deli, and I'd open up the menu and then I'd just shut it because it would be overwhelming. And it was such a good analogy because you can get overwhelmed, especially like for my kind of a mind, where I'm just kind of hyper focused. And so, but as I've gotten older and as I've gone through some of these, relationships, I realize more of, and this might sound wrong, but more of what I don't want. It would just be nice to have like a simple life with someone and laugh and smile and play tennis and enjoy life and enjoy helping others and enjoy, the simple things, because all the other stuff's kind of noise. And, so I'm very excited about what's to come. Are you okay, Bob?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm waiting for you to finish so I can sit down.
You can sit down. Come sit down.
Step in front of the camera.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So I'm waiting for Jackie.
We're all coughing today. No, yeah. And, and what we don't want, sometimes what we don't want becomes the fodder for that list as well that people have. And they don't even write it down. It's an internal list because we're trying to keep what happened in the past from ever happening again. Yes. And so that can actually become a block sometimes. Just, making sure that nothing happens that I don't want again. And so it's really important. I get what you're saying right now, but for a lot of people that becomes a situation where they're just worried that this person's going to have a quality that someone else in the past that hurt them had. And they're just making sure that they find out so much before they ever are able to go to the next level. And this is what happens when people sit down on first dates and they literally give the other person the grand inquisition. Instead of having fun and smiling and laughing and eating, they're like, okay, where do you come from? Who are your parents? Are they divorced? Are they married? How much money do you make? Do you have an STD? How many people have you had sex with? What do we got? I mean, this is what happens.
Yes,
And
no,
so
Philadelphia, 3, 7,
No,
and I don't think so.
No. I hope 7 wasn't the STD.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no. So it's just really, and of course they want to lay it on the table. Like, do you believe in sex before marriage? Because if it is, it's a deal breaker. See you later. Everyone's kind of paranoid about that. And I'm like,
please.
look, you don't have sex conversations with people that you're not considering having sex with. And so much later in the relationship, is it time for that conversation? And so I do a lot of dating coaching, especially since so many people have not had any experience. They kind of just coupled up with the first person, like I said, or the second person. And then they didn't learn anything about themselves or the opposite sex at all.
And I love what you said. I don't know what page it's on, but most people will think, oh, you have to go into the relationship being whole, so you don't have to necessarily complete each other. But I don't think, I don't know that I'll ever be whole until I enter the kingdom, right? Like I'm always going to be constantly working on myself and trying to be a better version of myself or fix the things that aren't good about me and try to make them better. But finding the right person that will come alongside you and lift you up during those moments where you're feeling broken or you're vulnerable or you're just, having a moment, right? Is so important. And for both, iron sharpens iron, right?
Absolutely.
Finding that other person.
Absolutely. A spirit mate is going to actually help you become the best version of yourself. We're always going to be in process, like you're saying. There's always going to be more hard work to do as, life comes at us fast in different directions. Men especially, I feel like they're the ones that think they have to have it all together before they're allowed to get married. They'll date or they'll have a romantic relationship before they can actually get on one knee, propose, ask this woman to be their wife. They're thinking that they have to have the career and they have to be debt-free and do all these different things, not realizing that, behind every successful man is a woman that loves him when he didn't have anything, loved him when he was still in process. God himself is the one that said, it's not good for man to be alone. And there are very few men, I believe, that have that, what we call the gift of singleness. I believe there's very few people that have it because I believe that marriage is God's maturity plan for mankind. I really do.
I love that. Say that again.
God's maturity plan for mankind is marriage. It's marriage and family. It helps you to become the best version of yourself. It does. And
that's one of the main reasons that, I would even enter into it again. Because yes, you can become complacent and, be very, not want to shave your legs. Sorry, that's a lot of info, but you can. And it's very easy to kind of just jump in bed at night with your dog and Netflix and, but it can be too comfortable. And, it would be nice to go through life with someone and share life with making memories, really. And I'm very excited. So tell me a little bit about the 5-day challenge, because I can do anything for 5 days.
So the 5-day challenge is a free challenge. It's kind of like a taste and see. So, maybe people don't know because of the name. They're like, what the heck is this? They hear me on the radio. They know that they're having a divine appointment because they were just praying and pretty much yelling at God about how they're lonely and single and they don't understand why they're in the waiting room. And then I show up. I call myself the mystical matchmaking Nanny McPhee because I just kind of come out of nowhere. And, people's dads even send them my stuff. They're like, here, daughter, here you go. And so people come in and they just get a taste. They just get a taste of what I'm teaching. They come in for 5 days. I just can teach it consecutively every single day. It's available in replay. And they're able to really connect to the material and see that, hey, this is exactly what I need. And most people after that, they join one of my programs, my Bride Bootcamp program, my mentorship, my dating coaching, and they have success stories.
And by the way, it's the 5-day challenge and all of the stuff that you can find is on the website that we talked about in the intro, which is lovestories.com.
That's right. Yeah.
So you decided you wrote a book called The Heart Work. which I have not read, but that's my next. I'm going backwards, right? Tell me a little bit about that book. I know we're talking about Married in 12 Months or Less, but there's a lot of work when it comes to the heart, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, a mother-daughter, father-son. The heart's a very powerful, powerful, powerful muscle.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I, my magnum opus, what I really want to do is see relationships restored, not just obviously single people meeting their spirit mates, but just relationship in general. And that's my story. I always like to say that, I was born on the plains of the Serengeti. I came out of my mother's womb running for my life. I had a very dysfunctional childhood. I was in girls' homes and foster care throughout my teen years. And then I was emancipated. I was on my own at a very young age, in just my teen years, 16, 17 years old. And I didn't have my spiritual awakening until I was in my 20s. I was already 2 years into a bad marriage that I should have never been in because I didn't have any good information. And I was already separated, getting a divorce. And then I had this amazing conversion experience. And it really didn't just change my life. It put me on a mission. And so even though that marriage ended, I tried to stay in it for 10 more years. I almost lost my life several times because of staying in that marriage, because of the sickness and the disorders and different things that I got due to stress in that situation. So many women and men can relate to that. But when I met my next door neighbor and we got married in 8 months or less, I spent the next 2 years trying to talk him out of loving me. So here are the things that people need to know. Just because you get the divine appointment with your spirit mate doesn't mean that you're not going to try to cut and run. And I did try to do that. But the heart work is what came as that divine download that helped me to be able to give myself permission to love this man, permission to love his kids, permission to allow them to love me. God, spoke to me at the kitchen sink one day, 2 years into this marriage when I was just failing miserably. And he said, "Why are you giving yourself permission to be a loser?" And I said, "Are you calling me a loser, God?" And he said, "No." He said, "You're calling yourself a loser." He said, "I've given you everything that you've ever wanted." He said, "And you won't let it in. You're not letting love in." So I realized that all the good information that I had ever gotten about anything was stuck in my head and it had never made it to my heart because I had some unpacking to do there. So the heart work is just the 18-inch journey of all of the good stuff getting from your head to your heart and you being able to let love in, to be able to receive the abundance of the finished work of the cross. And it totally changed my life when I divinely downloaded the information. And then I've been teaching it ever since, even before Married in 12 Months or Less. And so that's why it is part of what I do with all of my brides and grooms to be.
I'm just going to say this because you've said it 3-4 times now in this last couple sentences. You said divinely download. And I got chastised and ridiculed in one of my marriages. I won't say which one. I won't pick which number.
Both of them.
But for saying that God downloaded something to me. And it's just another way of saying that God was speaking to you or speaking to your heart. And so you said this 4 times to me. Usually God speaks to me in 3s. And you just gave me permission that was okay. And
I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't even know.
Yeah. Look, we're hardwired to hear. We're hardwired to have connection to God and to his divinity, to his love. He is love, obviously. And so, we're downloading all the time. And that's another thing that we do at Married in 12 Months or Less. We help people to hear how they're being divinely spoken to. A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, God's not emotionally involved with me. I've never heard from God. God's never spoken to me." But they don't realize that he's speaking to them all the time. They just don't understand how he's speaking to them.
Yes, I get how he was speaking to me, but in that moment, that person just made me feel like I was the crazy one. And, I've done a lot of work and I realized, when you marry a narcissist, you don't really exist in the relationship. And so part of, doing the work and not wanting to enter down that same path again, is scary.
Of course. And what's scary about what you're saying is that in those situations, people that are broken in those ways, you don't usually notice it until later.
Right.
because there's definitely a different personality that's put out to the world. And so that scares a lot of people. A lot of people feel like they were sucker punched, that they didn't know who they were getting into a relationship with. And that's where we really talk about being God defended. As we go forward, when we give permission, when we pray that prayer that you were talking about, I even have a permission slip for people to sign as kind of an activation of their understanding. You know what? I've done things the hard way. I'm going to do things God's way now and let him, like I said, take the pen and write the story. And when we do that, we're God defended. I could tell you story after story of women that have met people while they were in our program. And then because of the power of community around them, and because of that permission that they've given and being God defended, it was found out very quickly, things that a lot of people don't find out until 2 or 3 or 4 years later, maybe even 10 years later. And so that's what I love about what we do as a community.
It's like, it's takes a village.
Yes, it does.
Bobby,
and we have a village, all right.
So tell me a little bit about how that went for you have a daughter, right?
we have a blended family. And when we got married, he had a 9 and 11-year-old from his first marriage, and I had a 5, almost 6-year-old from mine. So we have 3 kids, so 2 daughters and 1 son.
And so you guys just moved next door.
We did. Me and my daughter moved in with him and his kids to the townhouse that was just right next door.
And so I was dying to know this because I don't even know I don't think you touched it. What did your neighbor say? The one that came out and said, hey, did she get invited to the wedding?
No, you know what's, well, first of all, it was just a small situation with just our family. And then at 10 years, we had the big wedding. We had the big wedding at 10 years. But she actually was not, no one's ever asked me that before, but she actually wasn't happy for us, because it happened really fast. And she, she was just like, oh, that's weird. I mean, she didn't really say much about it except for just you'd tell. And, and that's another thing about married 12 months or less. I told you at the beginning that it's about giving people hope that when you get into alignment, it doesn't have to take a long time. Because some people, they're already in their 50s and 60s. They don't want this to have to take 10, 20 more years. I mean, God's going to send them a man in the convalescent home. What are we doing here? And so it's really important that they understand that, it's just about getting out of your way and getting out of God's way so that this can happen. But, a lot of people, they'll stick their nose up at that. They're like, oh, that's too quick. You need to date someone for years and years and years until you really get to know them. Right?
Say, no, you need to date somebody for years and years. I find out very quickly.
Well, I married my first in 4 months and my second in 2 years, or a year and a half. So I don't think that
you did both, and then neither one of them worked.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And I had a very dear friend of mine when we were younger that, she dated her boyfriend for 6 years and then got married, and a year later it fell apart. So there's really, like you said, there's no right or wrong. And jumping in to love is, God loves us so much. He just loves us so much. And I understand what it's like to love someone else. Because for both of my marriages, I loved them dearly, with all my heart. I just was not loved. And that's okay, because I really feel like God is saving the best for last, right? And third time's a charm. But what I want to say about this book that is so incredible is it's not, and you said it in the beginning, it's not about marriage. It's really great that it can give you the tools and get you to a point where you can get married in 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, 12 months. It's a good life book. It has so many, and you approached it with humor, which, that reels me right in because I was cracking up literally out loud. My dad,
I love it.
Yoli were there like, what are you reading? I'm like, hey, you got to read it.
I'll tell my husband that. So I'll just make sure he knows that I'm the funnier one. I'll make sure.
I think he knows deep. I think he knows deep down.
I think he really does.
Stalking your Instagram this morning, I clicked on there and I was like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. You make this beautiful couple too. And it's just so nice to see your family and the kids. And you really are a success story. And not only that, you took your knowledge and you took your pain. And I'm a huge, big, giant person on turning your pain into your purpose. And you have, obviously been through it, and you are sharing your story and others to help save or just guide one person. And I'm not one person. I know you have a lot of people, but within the last 24 hours, I'm the one person that
I love that.
affected my life forever, really, forever, with the words on these
love that.
pages. And
That's
so
amazing.
I can't thank you enough. I will be signing up. I'm sure Bob, did you like seek her out for me, or was this?
I figured I went online and said, who can I find to find Cory a mate?
Well, it's amazing how this book came across your path, and then
It's divine intervention.
it was a divine intervention.
It is.
Or just a coincidence.
Is Bob married? Is Bob a married
Bob is
man?
married.
Bob
Yes.
is married to
Bob is
Irina,
married.
and she's wonderful, beautiful, funny, smart, and all of the things I just
How
love
long
her.
after Bob met his wife did he get married?
We were married. We met in October. We were married in March a year later. So a year and 5 months.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
God, I hope those dates are right, or I'm in a hell of a lot of trouble.
They're very well suited.
So one of the things I talk about a lot is that, the Ancient of Days has ancient ways. And a lot of times our modern ways don't work, and we keep trying them, but they don't work. And so it's kind of good to look to the olden days. And part of that olden days is community-based matchmaking. And also people got married quickly. They did because they married people from their friend groups or from their schools or from, extended family, friends and neighbors and different things. And so those marriages usually happen in 4 months or less, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, so we're giving people an extra 8 months here, so we're good.
Hey, let me ask you this. How do you feel about arranged marriages?
Well, I will tell you that I talked to a lot of people in cultures where there were arranged marriages, like in the Indian culture. And guess what? They're not just still married, okay, lowest divorce rate, but they're actually happily married.
Happy.
Really?
And yes, very happily married. I was like, come on, happily married? Yes, happily married. And the reason why is this: the people that arrange that, besides obviously exceptions where it has to do with money and dowry and stuff, the people that arrange that are people that really love those people. They love their children. They want to see their children happily matched. They take marriage very seriously. Let's just face it. In our culture, in our American culture, we don't really take marriage that seriously anymore.
Right.
But in those cultures, they really do. And so they want, they want someone who they know that their son or daughter are really going to love. And so, yeah, a lot of happy marriages in those situations. And of course, there's other cultures where people are getting forced into marriage and child brides and all that stuff. And I'm not talking about that at all.
Right. No,
Not at all.
right. My grandparents, and I've said this before, they were married for 54 years. So I got to witness a beautiful love story within my own family.
Love it.
This was on my dad's side. And one of the things that I cherish to this day is my grandpa had diabetes, and not that I don't cherish that, but he had diabetes and he ended up having his legs amputated. And my grandmother would sit in the car and she'd wait for him to get out of the car and get his crutches and come over to the other side of the car and open the door for her. And I would sit in the back seat and I would be so frustrated. I was like 5 or 6 and I would be like, why is grandma making grandpa open the door? And then it wasn't until I got older that I realized that she was letting him be the man.
So beautiful.
And it wasn't something she was going to take from him, right? And so there was this level of respect that was so beautiful that even in those moments, she still continued to respect, who he was. And I just want to go and fix everything. And I'd go over to the other side and I'd probably break that when I was younger. But now I understand, you have to let the man be the man in those situations, right?
Boy, my wife must really love me because she lets me do everything.
She gives you a
You
whole
know
list.
what I mean?
Yeah.
She gives you a whole list of how you can love her.
So
Honey do.
In the
Honey
morning,
do.
yeah, honey do this. When the morning at 6, 7 in the morning, the dog's got to go out and she makes me do it. Is that because she loves me?
Yes, so
It
much.
is.
Yeah.
So much.
She loves
you
you.
so much.
You are so
I'm going
loved,
to let you be the man.
Bob.
Go walk the dog. Yeah, okay, now I take
Bob
the
is
trash
so
out
well
because
loved.
I'm the man. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I was
love
trying to
it.
help you out there. No problem.
But you guys bring up a really important point. The longer that a woman, so the feminine, the longer that a woman is single, the more that she becomes extremely independent.
Yes.
In fact, hyper-independence is part of that trauma response that we were talking about earlier. And the harder
Yes.
it is to actually let a man do anything for them. So it's kind of the opposite, where it's just like, a lot of times we think of women like, oh, just do everything for me, treat me like a princess. But women that have been hurt, a lot of times they have this hyper-independence where it's difficult for them to give anyone else control. It's difficult for them to trust anyone. It's very difficult for them to allow anyone else to do anything for them, including love interests. So that's where we have to unpack these heart boxes so that they can let love in. Very important.
It's very, very important. So necessary. Okay, so Jackie Dorman.
Yes.
3 words that describe you.
Wow. 3 words that describe me. All right. So definitely, I think one has to be that I hope. I'm just full of hope. I'm an encourager, naturally born encourager. I always believe the best is yet to come. So hopeful would be one. I think that I'm a pioneer is another word. I always have said to God, hey, wherever you're going, I'm going. I call shotgun. I don't care if it's hard. I don't care if it's weird. I don't care if people make fun of me. I'm going to go. And the other thing that I think is kind of part of that pioneer would probably be, I think people would say, and I would say this, I'm really goofy. I know how to have fun. If you're into, this is like fighting words if you say anything about the Enneagram, but I'm an 8-7 on the Enneagram, which I'm that pioneer and, that 7, and I call it the human mullet. I'm like business in the front, party in the back. And I just,
Awesome.
I love to have fun. I'm super goofy and I don't take myself too seriously. So I think those are the 3 words for sure.
Well, my 3 last night after I finished this book was beautiful inside and out. So
Aww, you're so sweet.
I was like, just felt so connected to the words that you wrote on that page. And you had me laughing, crying, like healing, just
I love it.
self-reflecting and doing all the things that this was meant to do. It did. It really did. And, I get it. Sometimes you have to be in the place to receive that. And I am, but it came at the right time. And it was a God divine moment for me.
I love
so we're going
that.
to do a little, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to thank you for actually reading my book. I've had so many interviews since my book came out, and I think you're the only person that actually read the book that they were interviewing me on, maybe.
Really?
So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you reading it, and I'm so glad it's touched you in that way. So thank you.
Cory gets this all the time. Cory absolutely reads every book of every author we have on and notates it with the notes and stuff. And a lot of people are always impressed about that because I guess all the other interviewers don't read the books.
No, but let me tell you something. It was captivating for me, and obviously I've been through it, and it spoke to my spirit so much. But
glad.
It is a great read. It's one of those books that you can't put down. Like I got 4 phone calls last night, and Ariana's like, my daughter's like, Mom, how are you going to read that book in like one day? And I was like, oh no, I can't put this book down. Like it was so good. So, okay, so we did a little word association test game, if you will.
It's not a game, it's a test.
It's a test, okay.
First of all, it's a very deep psychological tool, and you call it this little word association test. It's a
no.
serious test.
We need help here.
We're going to
Jackie,
delve into your
for
psyche.
Our work relationship. No, I'm just kidding. So yes, we'll just say one word and you give just one word, right?
As fast as you can,
As fast
whatever
as you
word pops
can.
in your head.
Got it.
Okay. Neighbor.
Love.
Divorce.
Rescue.
Faith.
Ooh. Essential.
Good one. Love.
David.
You really did get King David, right?
I love him. Yes, he's amazing.
Marriage.
Hard.
Fair enough, right? And honest. I love that. That's great. Writing.
Bleeding.
Bleeding.
I
was going to say harder, but yeah.
Yes, that's so true, right? You really, and let me tell you, you poured it all out in this book. Hope.
Dealer.
Those are great. Who right now currently is really inspiring to you, other than Bob?
Other than Bob. Is that what you said? Other than Bob?
Yeah, I was joking.
I inspire many.
Oh, who is really inspiring to me right now? My youngest daughter is really inspiring me right now because she just left home for the first time. She's never been gone from home. She's almost 21 years old, and I just see her out there. She's actually becoming a missionary. And I'm just so inspired by what she's doing and the call that she is answering. And I'm just so proud of her.
That's beautiful. That is inspiring, and you must be proud. That's wonderful. Well done, you, as a mom, right? If I always tell my daughter, if you love what you do, you'll never spend a day working in your life. Just love what you do, right?
God, it feels like work every time I come here.
Well, Jackie Dorman, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. And like, this was such a gift. You don't even know. I feel like, and I'll tell you more and share with you more about my story and some of the things that even recently have transpired in an effort to even get to absorb more of this book. Like, it seems like God is, definitely on the throne and working all things together for his good. So, and his glory. So, married in 12 months or less, Jackie Dorman, I love you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. I hope that we are really going to do some matchmaking with you.
Oh, no, I would give you my number right now, but then the world would see it. So we're going to stop recording and then I'm going to connect with you.
You got your hands full.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Whoever you're going to set her up with, have him meet me first. I'll tell them
absolutely.
I'll tell them all the tricks.
You're the gatekeeper.
I'm the gatekeeper, yeah.
You are. Okay.
You say all the time, you're the easiest person to work with, and I can't tell you how great it is and so wonderful.
I was talking about me, not you.
Oh, okay.
You are. You're very easy to work with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's because we're on air. We'll talk about what really happens off air. All right. Thank you much, and we're out.
Thank you.
The Coriolis Effect is produced by JS Productions. Producers Cory Oliver and Bob Victor. Host Cory Oliver. And editors Bob Victor and Cade Bonsall.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver, and thank you for watching The Coriolis Effect. We hope you enjoyed the previous episode. Here are some more episodes you might enjoy. Hit the subscribe button below, and have a great day.